Along with the freedom of creating a brand, you carry the responsibility of being a public infrastructure where you're answerable to pretty much everybody.
I've come to love the airport as a brand.
Thank you for
Come
that.
to love the airport. How do you not talk and how do you talk?
We follow the magician archetype. And so, therefore, the voice that comes with it or the choices we make is of always some bit of delight, a little twist, some bit of surprise. And the other one we maintain very strongly is we started something during COVID called BLR Lens. It's a hashtag we started.
Nice.
Today, it's become one of the places where I get the most breathtaking pictures. It's incredible the amount of UGC I get.
I was just going to ask you about UGC. And it still continues?
It's one of our very popular hashtags even today.
Shalini, time for a Nat Geo too.
Everybody has a ritual. What's yours when you travel?
At the airport, of course, having some lovely rasam and
Absolutely.
little things.
So that is the beauty. We discovered everybody had a ritual. And then we created a full campaign around those rituals.
How did you decide what T2 is going to be about and how did you marry it into the ethos of what the whole airport stands for?
So the design philosophy of T2 came in much earlier. I got lucky enough to get those 4 pillars.
What are the 4 pillars, Tina?
So
A 120,000 visitors through the gates every day. 30,000 people working at the Bangalore International Airport. One woman who is in charge of all the perception that goes on at this giant infrastructure called Bangalore International Airport and also known as Kempegowda International Airport Limited. Today, our guest is none other than the CMO of the BIAL Airport, which is Shalini Rao, and it's my honor to welcome her to the iconic brand stories. Welcome, Shalini.
Thank you. Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
Thank you. So you've come in from marketing at FMCG companies, at hospitality companies and things. How did the shift to an airport brand, a brand that literally never sleeps? How did that shift happen and what did it entail?
There's something you should know about me, which is I get driven by things that have not been done before through my entire career. And I never thought of it as an airport brand or a new brand or any such thing. I spot a challenge, I see something that looks exciting, and I jump at it. And that is exactly how I landed up here 6 years ago because it was an infrastructure brand. And I was like, wow, this can be quite something to put together. And here I am.
And like I said, it's a brand that never sleeps.
It doesn't.
Do
It
you
can't.
sleep? Have you slept in the last 6 years?
Absolutely, I sleep and I know how to. And I know what sounds to have on my phone so that when I need to, I'll wake up.
So tell me more. If Hari calls you, there's a different sound.
I'm not going to let you know that.
Okay, so very nice. Is there something that you carried from FMCG hospitality, like a branding thread that you took to the airport brand as well?
I think 2 things. And I'm going to fall back on one of the characters that I use to describe how I function, which is Alice in Wonderland. And if you can think about Alice in Wonderland, the one thing that will strike you is both curiosity, the willingness to dream, and the desire to be compassionate. Because when you're jumping industries, when you're building brands, you will often come across people who want to push back. You need to be compassionate when you're pushing that through. And so to me, that's why I always say Alice in Wonderland curiosity, checking for the insights, ready to go on an adventure.
Adventure, I was just going to say.
Absolutely ready to go on an adventure, which needs courage. There's no scope for fear anywhere. And the compassion and also the ability to say, oh, I got this wrong. Let me try again.
Very nice.
That's carried through.
Can you think of a moment where you felt that in this brand?
In this brand, I've been lucky so far. Not really. Over my career, absolutely. Absolutely.
And
Several
that
times.
really takes courage and a sense of adventure. like you said.
Totally.
It's okay. We fell. We stand up again and we'll walk better this time.
We've shut brands down, we've launched things and pulled back, but that's nature of what it is.
Interesting. Very nice. So tell me, describe a typical day, Shalini, in your work life, because I really want to know what would someone who's handling communication, marketing, perception for an airport, what does her day look like?
There is a very simple way to describe it. There is nothing typical about it, and no one day looks like another one. It just absolutely doesn't, because I can go in this morning thinking I have these 6 things to do. This is my week's plan. I have a campaign, I have to communicate 6 interesting things, but a weather system might strike somewhere, something might happen in the city, and then my priorities will change right away because we're a public infrastructure. The information and security priority always takes over. And so the willingness to be agile for both my team and me, and beauty is it'll come on a Friday evening or a
There
Saturday
goes your weekend.
afternoon, and you've just got to be ready for it. And my agencies are also now ready for it.
So on one side there are investors, on the other side there's public, on the third side there are people you report to, there's the government watching, there is the world watching, there are airlines, people. What are the different kinds of communication you send out today, and what is the complexity of it all?
So, maybe because I've been here 6 years, I'm going to make it sound very simple. But you're right. We're a business of businesses. That's how we kind of refer to
Very
ourselves.
nice.
And like somebody who's conducting an orchestra, that is literally, let's say, the role I play. And we've got to make music at the end of it. And so,
Not
therefore,
noise.
not noise. And so, therefore, there are different parts of the year on which different priorities take over. There will be information, there will be security led requirements that will come up. There are times when stakeholder, like you said, 30,000 people, but 30,000 people to run that ecosystem. As an organization, we're about 1,800. But I need to engage with the rest of them. And we have moments where we need to engage. Then there's internal communication, which is employees.
Of course.
Because when you're delivering in a service business, as you know, the employees are the ones who will deliver the
Who
brand
will deliver?
experience. Nobody else will. And then there's investors at different points in time. I think advantage of being there 6 years is I now know what comes when, and one is kind of prepared for that calendar to come in.
How big is the team that works with you on all of
Now, 20. When I started, about 6, and that's how far we've come.
Wow. And all through the complexity, the nature, the volume of what you have to say and do has increased
It has increased exponentially.
exponentially.
Exponentially. Also because I think our aspirations, because as marketers, as people who want to put out communication, we get excited, right? We see opportunity and potential to do and say more. And as we are growing, even as a company, as what we're putting out there, our aspirations are growing. So therefore we keep wanting to put more out there.
That's fair. So, while you're doing all of this communication, Shalini, are there any guardrails? What is the rule book for you? Do you have to follow certain things that other brands may not even know about or look at? Are there things that are no nos?
It's a process of learning that I think I went through 6 years ago when I came in, because I came in with all the standard brand guardrails that you put in guidelines, you put tonality and voice. I still came in and put all of those in place. But because you're a public infrastructure, and this is something not everybody realizes, along with the freedom of creating a brand, you carry the responsibility of being a public infrastructure where you're answerable to pretty much everybody. And so, therefore, to remember to carry that responsibility with you and be mature enough to speak for everybody as well, and to be calm about all the questions that you get asked as well, knowing full well that you will. They say, no, with great exposure
Power.
power will also come responsibility, accountability. I think that's all our roles at the airport.
So I can see you're this force who's unflappable, who's got it covered and done it all, kind of.
Hopefully.
Hopefully, yes.
You've seen a swan, right?
Yes.
Glides on the surface. There's a lot of hectic paddling that happens underneath.
Lovely. No, I'm sure there is. I'm sure there is. Plus, living with, when I think of your role and I think of there could be an airline crisis, there could be weather problems, there could be food issues, there could be sanitation issues, there could be security issues. And you've got to do it all with this sense of calmness, like you said, and
Necessary.
while maintaining the, it's all fine on the surface, like you said, on the surface of the water, the swan is still gliding, but you've got to maintain it also. Kudos, really, really kudos to you.
Thank you, but I have to say, I keep that face up, but the operations teams are the guys who are really the ones who deserve those kudos because they keep the calm on the ground.
Okay, so why is the airport, so it's Kempegowda Airport to the world, but your official entity is BIAL, right?
Right.
Why is the Kempegowda Airport a brand? Why does an airport have to be a brand?
It doesn't have to be, but I think we decided that we'd like it to be because we don't look at it as just an airport. We exist because we're an airport. We exist because passengers and travelers and everything. But we look at ourselves as a much larger destination ecosystem, which allows a bunch of people, and we're very fond of saying, your journey needs to begin even before you take off.
Lovely.
And that is, I think, the ethos that we all carry. That is the vision that comes in from the person who leads us very, very heavily. And I think it's in our bones. And that is how we look at it as a brand. And we refuse to look at it as anything else.
You know, I was telling you, I've come to love the airport as a brand.
Thank you
I've
for
come to
that.
love the airport. And T1 is my favorite because of the familiarity. Yeah. But I
It's
know
been here long.
T2 is the
Yeah.
jewel that everybody's raving about.
I'd say both are, and I think each one caters to very different kinds of needs.
Absolutely. And very different personas,
Personas,
very
absolutely.
different experiences in both places.
Totally.
So you've managed to put together the brand as something that's really warm, customer centric, yet at the same time very responsive. And there's a sense of endearment with the brand. How did you decide that this is what it was going to be?
You know, I will go back about 5 years when we started this because I started as I joined 6 years ago and then COVID happened. So we put it on hold just a little bit. But I think I was a lucky marketer. I had such beautiful stuff to work with already. Remember, it was a running airport, right? And there were certain systems and values and everything that were already there. I think between the agency and my team, we spent about 6 months, extensive conversations with employees, with passengers, with all the retailers and all the others in the ecosystem that worked with us to try and figure out what is it that they enjoyed. And that's how we put it all together. You're from the business, so you understand what it takes to put, I called it putting cladding on a running train. That's my favorite description of what we did 5 years ago to put it all together. To think of how do you do a business of businesses together? How do you sectionize it so that your communication can follow that?
And still
And
have a
we managed to do it,
degree of consistency coming through in the whole thing.
which is why we needed those
Which is why,
guidelines.
yes,
Which is why we
absolutely.
needed those guidelines. And I think it's interesting that when we started, I think I felt like a little bit of a police person on the ground saying, no, we don't talk like that. No, we don't say this. My absolute joy is I don't need to say it anymore. People just don't look at me and they're like, you're not saying anything. I said, I don't need to. You're already doing it.
So give me an example of what these are. So how do you not talk and how do you talk?
So, for example, we have, like any brand, we have our tonality and our guidelines, right? And one of the things we believe in very strongly, for example, is, and I'm going to get technical for a minute, we follow the magician archetype. We chose the magician archetype. And so, therefore, the voice that comes with it or the choices we make is of always not overly only caregiver, but also about some bit of delight, a little twist, some bit of surprise in terms of what you're doing. And the other one we maintain very strongly is we don't do anything alone. You cannot run an infrastructure our size alone. And that's baked into our guidelines. It's always us, it's always collaboration, it's always a bunch, and therefore the orchestra. You cannot make music with just one person.
Very nice. When you brought up T2, and we've just discussed that persona is a slightly different one than T1, How did you, decide what T2 is going to be about, and how did you marry it into the ethos of what the whole airport stands for?
So the design philosophy of T2 came in much earlier, along with the design organization that works with us. And I think I got lucky enough to get those four pillars to work with. And today we've adopted those four pillars as the pillars of the brand itself.
What are the four pillars? Tell us.
So the whole idea of terminal in a garden,
Yeah.
technology, seamlessness comes from technology, art, and sustainability. Those are strong four pillars. And while they started as design principles, we kind of realized that they sit behind everything that we do. So today we have those four as a brand itself. So
And that's also for T1?
absolutely.
How have you brought it into this?
It already exists. So if you look at T1, you will find a lot of green. It may not be as much as you see in T2 today, but you will. Our entire drive through everything that you have around.
Yes.
Sustainability is at the back of literally everything that we do. Tech is clearly there. There are elements of art that already existed. Again, maybe not as extensive because we didn't put in that much into Terminal 1, but there's a little bit of work happening around that now as well.
Why is art important, and why is this little sense of congregation at the airport important, and how does it impact the brand?
So, I have my favorite way of explaining it, so let me try. There are three things that happen when you look at either of our terminals.
Hmm.
The first one will be ease, and that is the functioning efficiency of an airport. That's the core of everything that you do, right? It'll start from there. Once that ease is done, then is the scale or the joy of looking around you and saying, okay, now that I'm comfortable, my stress is gone. What can I look at? What is around me? And the third is therefore the action that comes out of it, which is explore.
Hmm.
And that is where art will come in. That is where retail and F&B will come in to give you the opportunity to spend some time, forget the stress that you may typically go through, and actually enjoy yourself. And I think you will know this across the world. Art in public spaces is becoming a big thing. It's getting democratized
I'm so
in
glad
terms of the
India is
way
finally
things are
waking
happening.
up to
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
So glad. Because now we're seeing, I mean, I saw it in Gurgaon recently. This Shiv Nadar has
Has
is
put something
put
together.
together, yes.
Yeah, yeah.
And of course, we have the Museum of Art and Photography here, and Pune has something
I
now, which
wonder
is.
if you know that we have two small sections of map in our domestic and international
See, we don't know
sections
this
of
at all.
Terminal 2.
That we
We
don't
just
know this
launched
at
it
all.
last week.
Yeah. I always believe art heightens your senses. And like you said, it elevates your thinking, imagination, all of that. And I think India does very less in that space.
So if you look at our entire ethos behind art, we talk of the Navrasa. Now, those emotions are what you will go through in an airport by
Very
and
nice.
large,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
So it's an opportunity for us to present it to you in different ways. Also, the culture of the country, the city, the state.
And you have this lovely Yakshagana idol
Idol is
at,
a bunch of in
yeah,
Terminal
in
1.
Terminal 1. I know, I remember when that first came out, I was so enamored with it. And I think you're doing a phenomenal job of bringing in experiences like this. And are you also talking about it in other places? Where all do you talk about all
We
this?
talk about it in the sense that we talk a lot about it in social media. I think that's how we communicate the most. But we also do a lot on the ground. So there is a lot of passenger talk that will happen because of it. So since you brought up Yakshagana, I will talk about Dasara, one of the biggest festivals for Karnataka and Bangalore. We do 7 days of art and activity on the ground. So there's performances, there's dance, there's a bunch of stuff that we do. We live stream. We have people now, we put out the schedule. So we have people more North Bangalore usually, but we've also seen people come in from Central, etc., to just experience some of those forms and see what is actually happening.
So people actually come to the airport to see the performances?
Absolutely. We also have gigs that we do. We recently did a fashion show with Prasad Bidappa. A small one. We do it in the quad outside Terminal 1. And we talk about it. We talk about it through your standard methodologies of the residences around, etc. And we do gigs. We have, upcoming artists that come in and do gigs. So we have a lot of fun and we
So
do
I
get people in.
totally like this brand that is kind of engaging audiences beyond the travel and the transactional journey,
Yes.
or so to say, the transactional travel. And you're getting all of the people to come from the vicinity. And I can see the quad, which is your food and beverage space. And, it's a very nice vibe. I, for one, every time I land, I want to spend some time over
Even though I'm biased, I will say absolutely. I agree
there.
with
Yes.
you.
Yeah, but my question is that isn't there a sense of danger or security when you're bringing so many people to the airport all the time for engaging with the brand and not just the traveling? How do you manage stuff around this?
I guess because the ecosystem works together, we have a bunch of guidelines that we will follow and we stick to them. We do know our do's and don'ts, areas not to congregate around. We do go through a series of permissions with them before we get started. It's a joint effort and where everybody blesses it to say, okay,
Is
we're
there a
okay.
limit to the number of people you'd have at the airport at any time?
I can't completely throw a number at you, uh, but no, not really. I can't throw a
But if
number
somebody
at
monitors
you.
all of this, I mean, just trying to figure out if there
Well,
is.
it's a combination of physical pickup, monitoring, spaces.
Hmm,
Because remember, if you've
density
gone
of
in,
spaces.
density of spaces, those are areas,
I'm
right?
sure there must be some
Oh, yeah.
alerts and
So
all
we
that you
also
must be.
have heat maps because we have technology that tells us when, I don't know if you ever noticed, but if you're entering the airport, you will be told which gate will take how much time, which entry system will take how
I've
much time.
never noticed this, huh?
Check it next
And
time
my
you
phone is
go.
the culprit because I'm always on the
Ha, so
phone.
check it next time you go. You will be told which gate will take you how much time. So we do have that monitoring system because it's on that basis queues get opened up or not, additional counters get opened up or not. So I think those are things we do.
And Shalini, how many screens do you have at the airport? And what are you using these screens for? What sort of
So
communication?
flight information display is like a normal setup that we need to do because you need to know which is the list of flights, where are they going. So we have a fourth section of that screen which we use for communication. For example, during COVID, I used to put all the do's and don'ts or the steps of what it would take to do non-touch travel, right? That
Okay.
was the first piece that we put out there. Or sometimes even brands advertise there if they need to. And the advantage is those screens are location specific. And our technology allows us, if I have to beam out information in a particular area, I can.
Wow.
Yeah. And if I recall my numbers correctly, I think about 3,000 odd across both terminals.
3,000 screens. That is massive. Tell me, okay, let's come back to your brand again. I just want to understand, what does the logo stand for? I've always wondered.
So the logo goes back a very long way, well before I even joined, but it stems entirely from the vibrancy of the city of Bangalore. The good old Gulmohar and Jacaranda, particularly the Gulmohar, that I think Bangalore has held for a very long time. So the three colors bring the color, the vibrancy, and the flowers of Bangalore alive.
Oh, lovely. I'm so happy. We had a logo that came very close to this logo that my agency had designed. And I especially remember going and picking up your logo and comparing it because it had to be different enough. But this is the first time I'm hearing what it actually stands for. So thank you. How are you using these elements into different pieces of
So for a
communication?
very long time, these were our primary brand colors, and they were the only ones we would use. But over a period of time, I don't know if you've ever noticed again next time you go, the teal is something that will hit you across a
Yes.
large part of our
A large part.
communication.
Yes.
So teal is one of the colors we own, therefore, because of that. But over a period of time, we've realized an airport is a very visually noisy place.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
And if you have loud colors again, it's actually not soothing enough. So then we created a secondary palette which was slightly softer, but they all derive from these colors normally.
Very nice.
But we use them in all our communication. Our lanyards that people wear, sections of our uniform. So these colors kind of intersperse everywhere.
Do you use any sort of, let me put it this, a gamification in inspiring the folk at the airport, your team, or the 30,000 people who work in the whole ecosystem?
See, at various points in time, I think we are crazily innovative in our own style. So we've used multiple things. So, for example, the whole multiverse concept, we did try it for some time. We do have an app that we use, the Pulse, that we encourage people to look at. So, various plans at various points in time. I know we've done an odd gamification here or there, but nothing that I can tell you, go look at that, and that's what's running.
Okay. Tell me an initiative that you brought to the airport and something that maybe you haven't tried that in any other workplace, but you did it at BIAL.
So, one thing, if I were to look back and I'll tell you, the thing I'd pick up is this meshing brand promise with reality. Now, that's going to sound really strange, but any other brand that you handle, you build the brand story. You've created the product or you've created the service. And so you tell your own story and you weave it around it. But here, because you were an infrastructure, and I'll give you one of my favorite examples, we did a campaign at the end of COVID called Time to Reconnect.
Lovely.
And why did we do it? Not because we wanted to push traffic or any one of those things. We did it because our research showed us that people were still hesitant. They were scared as to whether they can come out into public places. Yet on our handles, a lot of talk of revenge travel. I'm waiting to go here, I'm waiting to go there. There was always a but. So we said, okay, let's pick up this but and just push that desire button a little bit. Started talking to people and found out, what did you miss? Everybody has a ritual. What's yours when you travel?
My list before I go, put that down.
Yeah, you put that down. So that is the beauty. We discovered everybody had a ritual. And then we created a full campaign around those rituals.
How
A
nice.
mother talking to terminal staff saying, Beta, I think my suitcase may be overweight. This time I'm meeting my son, carrying pickles for him. So, that auntie, that conversation. Somebody stopping at the relay to say, hey, what's the latest book that's come in? So, all those rituals. Now, in any other brand that I've dealt with, you don't necessarily need to go into these kind of situations because you don't need to blend those two. But here you have so much of the real, and to bring in that layer of what comes to us as marketers, as communicators, and to bring the two together to touch the heart and get movement. For me, if I were to say, that's one thing that I've really enjoyed doing here.
And this time to travel or time to
Time to reconnect.
reconnect, you said, yes. What were the different avenues that you used to spread the word on this, the different campaign assets that came out?
So typically, like I said, we're lucky. We are a large infrastructure. So I have a lot of on ground assets,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's the screens that I spoke about. We tend to use a lot of standees,
Yeah.
good old traditional methodology on the ground because you're standing in a queue. So then I can put something up there for you to talk. Otherwise, we communicate digitally, which will be all social media, our websites. We've used our websites as carousels, etc. I tend to use a lot of radio simply because a lot of people are traveling, they're driving in, or they're coming in the morning. That's the time they're listening. We've found radio has been a good, traditionally the good reminder medium. It works nicely
But I'm
for us.
wondering, are people not on Spotify and YouTube music instead now? And so
It's
much.
interesting. We've still found we get a lot of people listening to us, and even for Dasara, or let's say we just did an art park, when we pull people in, radio has drawn us a lot of folks.
I
When we
guess.
did the anthem, we did use Spotify as well. When we created our BLR airport anthem, we created it. I mean, I can't take full this thing of creating it ourselves. So Ricky did it for us because he's very, very close to the airport and being a Bangalore person. So we created it with him, launched it last April.
Ah, lovely.
And it just went nuts. We put it on Spotify.
Where does
Via
it play
Ricky's
today?
channel. If you call any one of us, it will play on our ringtones.
On your ringtones.
Yeah.
Nowhere else at the airport?
No, not really. We're a silent airport, so we don't really play
On
it
that
anywhere
note, I've
else.
heard the anthem that Indigo has recorded, and it's always playing when we are.
That's because you're, in the aircraft. You have a ear point that you can use then.
Ah, so well, I'm really glad that all the brands are waking up to these different ways of reinforcing and recall for the
Yeah.
brand.
Yeah.
You were also very instrumental in rolling out Voice of BLR. Tell our listeners and viewers, how did you go about it and why was it so big?
Sometimes you fall into something
Achha.
and and it becomes a necessity. Again, COVID, I think that was a crazy time for me. I had literally just joined, and that's when COVID happened. And if you remember, there were notifications or rules that kept changing,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And there was a massive amount of confusion. Do I need to quarantine from every state? Quarantine rules were different.
And every day
Every
something was
day
coming up.
something was
Yeah.
changing between states, between, okay, if it's this in this city, what do I need to do when I come here? A lot of confusion. So one of the things we sat down and said, hey, the really good thing we can do as a brand right now is to become the authentic source of information. Started from that. And then, I guess, me being me, we said, let's brand it. And if we said, let's brand it, that's how Voice of BLR was born. To say this is the voice of BLR, but it's also an authentic voice. So we started putting out, we created a series of FAQs, we put it out everywhere. We kept updating. Well, the crazy part of Voice of BLR was it also ran internally. We also shared it with our stakeholders because everybody found our little FAQ so useful, they just forwarded to everybody else. To my leadership team, we would give it, I don't know the number of WhatsApp groups. Once the team posted it on social media, my job was all WhatsApp groups, and that became
So you've come to be seen as the source of truth.
the source of truth. And we would get those notifications, right? And we would also be implementing them. So, therefore, as people who work there, friends, family, even strangers, I've had strangers message me on LinkedIn saying, I'm sorry, I hope you don't mind, but do you think you can help? I have my son flying through, or I have something, I'm confused as to what it is that we should follow. So, that is how the whole thing came up.
Wow. What really gets to you on a day-to-day basis if you are, in the business of marketing and communications? Tell me that.
In the business of marketing and communication, I'm laughing because if my team gets to hear this, they'll probably answer it faster than me. There are two things that get to me. One is somebody who behaves like a postman or postwoman and just passes something through without checking it once for themselves. And I'm like, please, that's not why you're doing this job. I think that drives me nuts. The other thing that drives me completely nuts is if I see communication that has not been checked. So the famous attention to detail. And the joke is everybody comes into my room checking their work, including their PPTs. And the first thing I will notice is either a typo
Oh my
or a font
God.
mismatch.
You
And
know,
it just drives me crazy.
that really reminds me of one of my bosses who would always spot stuff. And I think I have
Unfortunately,
grown into that today and I can,
I'm one of those. I had a boss like that, and maybe that was my
and
training.
thank God for them. Thank God for them. And one of the things that she taught me because I was working in the business of public communications also at that point in time. And she said, you have to be very careful because if you lose the L in the public,
Yeah.
you don't want it to read as something
you
else.
you don't know what it's gonna
You
come
will
out.
probably have
Absolutely.
absolutely similar,
Absolutely.
So, have you ever tried out any collaboration with another brand? At Because your brand is so visible and so massive, how does that work for you? That if you have to,
So I think within the ecosystem we have, so for example, if we do, I can give you two examples. If you do a new route launch, is probably where we've done the maximum. So when Qantas started its service to Australia and they wanted to move traffic, there was a huge campaign that they did around, Visit Australia, all of that. That was a collaboration that we did together, where even at the airport, we put out our share to actually drive traffic. Similarly, with Indigo, they had an influencer go in to look at, when they were looking at various destinations, Southeast Asia. So we've collabed with each other to do that.
But a non aviation brand?
The only one I can think of, which is something that we came together to do, and I must confess, we worked together for a year and a half. That's what we did with National Geographic, for example.
Okay, that's
So,
lovely.
something that people may not realize or know is as long as it took us to build T2, we have about 5 years of filming of every single moment that we've captured from the groundbreaking till the time it was actually launched. And we got into a conversation with National Geographic. They run superstructures. And we said, okay, let's work together to build that narrative, to tell the story, the four pillars. And that worked beautifully for us
It's a lovely
in
one.
terms of their, let's say, expertise and what they stand for, and something interesting that we had put together. And so we worked very nicely together. Interestingly, it was one of their most popular superstructures as well.
I know, such a
That's
nice
what we
one.
heard back from them, and it did exceedingly well for both of us. We got a chance to put the backstory out,
And a
which you,
fantastic PR
yeah,
exercise.
oh,
I
completely.
mean, you literally, that's why they say you've taken the Bangalore airport brand to the skies. So that's, that's lovely PR.
So it's been nice opportunities like that that I think we've managed to leverage.
Very, very good. Very nice. What happens when there's a need to communicate in real time with the customers? Where do you do that apart from the social media, apart from the Twitter handle and things like that?
On ground,
Hmm?
and I think that's usually the most effective because people are coming in. Another thing that people don't necessarily know is we have full time what we call an engagement center, but that's a running call center that we have. So that is one place if you ever call us, and that is one place where people now have gotten used to calling us for, let's say, weather related stuff. When Bangalore has its
Oh,
fog, what's happening to, and they've got used to calling us. And on ground, we tend to convert those same screens. We put up standees if necessary to just help people understand what is going on.
and how popular is your app? Do people download it? Do people stay in
People are
touch?
downloading, people are starting to get used to using it, but I think as a marketer and all of us, I think we can push a lot more, and that's what we're working on. There are some things for which people have started using it: taxi bookings, some of those things, lounge pre-bookings. So those smart areas have begun, but I think there's a lot more to be done to push it out,
And
which we're
how are
doing.
you entertaining people through your communication today? I know you're informing a whole lot of them.
Hmm.
Are you selling at all? Are you selling anything about the airport?
I don't like to call it selling, but I definitely think we're entertaining people in terms of telling them, if, so for example, if I launched my anthem
Huh.
and I put it out there, and I have a very bizarre one because it's so recent. There was social media day a couple of days ago. So we just had some fun asking people which social media channel would you want your travel partner to be if you were
Oh,
traveling?
okay.
So we do stuff like that just to have a
Instagram
little bit of
constantly take pictures of me.
very interestingly, it became LinkedIn.
Oh,
Maybe because I put it on LinkedIn, so there was a lot of people who responded on LinkedIn. There's also a lot of newness because retail stores and concepts that are opening up, uh, dosas that are selling, multiple things that happened. So
ah,
there's enough entertainment there to work with people. And I must tell you about something we started, and this is something we never anticipated would take it the world on the way it has. We started something during COVID called BLR Lens. It's a hashtag we started.
nice.
It was because people were sitting at home and we just wanted to engage them in some way. And we said, share your pictures with us, share your airport related,
Travel related
travel
pictures.
related, SID related. Today, it's become the one of the places where I get the most breathtaking pictures that people have taken as they've come into the airport. See, because of the openness, sometimes the colors of the sky, the view that you got through the aircraft window, it's incredible the amount of UGC I get.
I was just going to ask you about UGC. And it still continues?
It still continues. It's one of our very popular hashtags even today. We ensure about once in a fortnight that we put out
Shalini,
what
time for
people
a
have.
Nat Geo 2.
They definitely agree with you.
Sweet. Lovely. Very nice. And see, this is what is creating connections. This is what makes it a brand, makes it
True.
endearing. And the fact that they call the airport hotline to ask what is the weather and what are the crises or whatever they want to find out about.
Is
Band hai ki nahi?
fog, what is happening?
Huh. Okay, why one curious question for you. After so many years of having done it all, what still stuns you? What would really, say, okay, now this one I have to do carefully?
I think my that that mix in my current role that I spoke to you about, the need for responsibility along with fun, that one still keeps me on my toes and probably keeps me excited because getting that right is so
So
important.
how will you have fun? Because there's so much responsibility around your
That's the fun, right? Where even in the middle of all that responsibility, you can have some fun. And I've been like that since I was a kid.
okay. My last section for you is called Take Five, and it's
Okay.
quick answers on
All right.
five quirky things. Yeah. If Kempegowda Airport was a person, what kind of personality would it have? And what three adjectives would you use to describe it?
I will still say magician because that comes to my mind automatically. Soft, empathetic,
Nice.
definitely a little delightful and pushing you into trying different things, and very sincere.
Very nice. I can see this is carefully crafted. Well done.
You're talking to the brand person, no?
Yeah, absolutely. If you'd bring any celebrity, if you had a chance to bring any celebrity to be the face of Bangalore Airport, who would you pick and why?
Can I be completely controversial and say I wouldn't pick a celebrity?
Oh, you wouldn't.
Simply because we don't like to see ourselves that way. We like to see ourselves as grounded, real. So if I had to pick something, I'd say the person next door,
Ah,
whom you completely relate to, and yet you look at some of the interesting stuff that they do.
but you almost have a semi, what do you say, little bit of a glamour there. You have a little surprise element there. And it's not really,
Not really next door like
yeah,
that.
it's a little aspirational when you
Maybe
go
the
to.
glamorous auntie next door.
okay, okay, maybe Shalini passing that. Which airports are you, who would you commend for the way they do things today?
Changi, I think, automatically comes to everybody's mind. But as a marketer and a brand person looking at the complexity, the beauty with which they take their brand through, the consistency with which they communicate and tell people what to do, and having been there and seen some of that as well, the storytelling is fabulous.
Very nice, very nice. I must remember to look this up also and see.
You should. And they have very interesting sections of storytelling within the terminals.
There was one time we were talking to JMR for handling a couple of airports, and that is the time I remember I had gone through a few, but I must look this up again. This is a nice one. What's your marketing guilty pleasure? Something that, may not have got you the ROI, but you still enjoyed doing it.
Oh, ROI rarely drives me. I just like to think that you do some fun stuff right, ROI will follow.
It's
My
true.
guilty pleasure, if I have to say anything at all, is about aesthetics and beauty over everything else.
Lovely. And that's why I see
And
you.
sometimes it costs more.
Of course, but it has its impact. That's why, everybody's so appreciative of the airport and how it's presenting itself. But okay, on this note, just tell me what you must have won a few awards for the airport, both for ops and, the brand.
For ops all the time,
Yeah,
we were the first and the only airport in India to win five-star terminal for Terminal 2.
lovely. Yes, Terminal 2
So
has been
that's
lovely.
like a big one. We do walk away with a lot in the sustainability area because that's a big focus. I don't think we do enough as a brand team, but I can share that I think the very recent E4M, we've got the silver for PR and all the efforts we put together as marketing for Terminal 2.
Very nice, and I totally agree. I totally agree. It's been such a literally, since we spoke about Changi right now, Jewel, and if I have to say, your T2 has really made news for the right reasons and really made Bangalore proud.
Thank you.
So
Thank you
well
for that.
done. Give me one fun fact around the airport, maybe around food or whatever it is.
The fun fact, and I don't think I realized it till I actually joined and worked. If you ever want to go out, all of you will try and figure out, okay, let's go to this place, let's go to that place. We pretty much have everything within the airport. So we can walk in, whether it's for a drink at the quad or a dosa inside somewhere. That's our joy. We don't have to go anywhere. So evenings are let's meet at the quad or let's go have lunch inside.
And you said that if we were to count the number of dosas consumed every day, it would be
3 stories high. Imagine a building 3 stories high. That's the number of dosas in Terminal 2 that get
in Terminal
consumed.
2. Okay.
So if I add one, I think it'll probably be 6 stories
Lovely.
high.
Lovely. It's been an absolute delight talking to you. I just want to ask you one last thing. If you were to rebrand yourself, how would you and what would you do today differently?
I can very safely say I don't ever want to rebrand
Ah,
myself. But if I were to try and brand myself, which I don't think I've done enough of, I would see myself as a very interesting. Okay, let me try and use some simple words for you. We're supposed to be marketers, right? So, strategy, empathy combined with a customer centric lens.
I can see the airport brand is an extension of you today. I can see that. Very sweet. What would your tagline be? What kind of a tag?
Expect the unexpected.
Oh,
That's
of
my
course. That's
tagline
your life.
personally.
That's your life.
That's my life. That's completely my life.
That is completely your life. Thank you for teaching us a way to live and a way to be. And Shalini's given us a glimpse into a completely different world today and told us about what it takes to run one of the most successful, one of the most publicly visible operations in the country, and what she does to maintain the brand behind it. It's been an absolute joy to have you.
Thank you.
We are the iconic brand stories, and we'll keep bringing you stories of brands that are making news and the brains and the marketers behind them. Please follow us, subscribe, and find us on the Apple Podcast, on Spotify, and of course, YouTube. Cheers.